Welcome back. Ride and listen episode 9, the All American Story, where we dive back into the audio messages I recorded in my All American season, my final season, where I was constantly thinking, using thought to better my action. And in this episode, I dive into the cycles that I see the game in. I break down other cycles and try to paint the picture on what this cycle that I believe all baseball players go through, right? Preparation, organization, execution, reflection. Okay? Undiscovered prospects, where you discover yourself so the world can discover you.
Yo, so we got Saturday, March 18th, 2023. It's 10:13 a.m. right now. Just got out of practice about 15 minutes ago. Topic of the day, right? The cycle of the season. Let's call it the cycle of the season for now, until a better name is recognized. But the cycle of the season, right? Because the baseball season is not just a season. It's a season of seasons, right? It's constant cycle. It's continuous, like life, like everything. I talked about in one of the previous ones how everything's a cycle. You got fall, you got spring, you got summer and winter. They come after another. Spring warms up, summer's the hottest, fall cools down, winter's cold. It's continuous. It's a cycle. It goes even though if you don't want it to be winter, it's gonna be winter. But it's all about your perception of winter, right? How long do you hate the cold? Do you like the cold? It's beauty. It's beauty in knowing that it's gonna get warmer and it's gonna get hot and then it's gonna cool down and it's gonna get cold. It's just like baseball, right? There's so many cycles I can break down right now, but the first one I'm gonna talk about, right, is the idea of like a team, of a game, of an individual. You have preparation, which leads you to your event, your game. In my world, it's a baseball game. Once you get to the game, or I'd argue the day of the game, you have organization. Organize. Organize your preparation, or organize yourself to make room for success to happen on the stage of the field, which then turns to execution. And once you execute, or don't execute, whatever the result may be, you reflect. Then you reflect. Hopefully, if you're doing this right, you reflect to improve your preparation or change your preparation to then organize better, and then to hypothetically, the most desired result would be to execute better, and then change the way you reflect, and then it's just a cycle, right? No matter where you start, one thing follows the next. If you reflect, then you gotta prepare, then you gotta organize, then you gotta execute. You plan, then you organize, then you execute, reflect. It's continuous, no matter how you chop it up or where you're at. And I like to think of it like this, at least for me, from my perspective, because, like I said, my perspective is all I know. Preparation is going to look different in the off season. Preparation is going to look different in the regular season in comparison to the off season, or near the end of the season, preparation is going to look way different than compared to your off season preparation. And that's because it's a cycle. You go through seasons within the season. So within the cycle, there's a smaller cycle. You have the off season, you have the preseason right before you play your first game, then the season starts. And you got early season, and you're not really playing conference, and conference starts, and you're in the thick of it. And then you get to the playoffs, and then that's a cycle in itself. So preparation changes as the cycle continuously comes back around. So you go preparation, preparing to get to whatever you may be. It might be long-term preparation off season. Might be short-term preparation a week before a game. It might be one-day preparation, one last-minute day of preparation before you have a game tomorrow. Boom, you got preparation. You got organization. Organize. Organization, I like to think of it as, so David Goggins made this analogy that your head is like a garage, and you got to park 2 cars in there, but your garage has got a lot of stuff in it. Organizing is creating room in your head for success to happen. This is like the feel good part. This is like making sure I did this so this can happen, or making sure I do this for this to happen. So you do all that preparation. You're primed. You got to the game day. You're primed. You did plenty of preparation. I promise you. If you know, you know, and if you don't know, you didn't. Then you know you didn't. Then you organize. You get to the game. Maybe my lower half's tight. Let me emphasize getting my lower half loosened up today. Maybe I spend like 5 more minutes on stretching my lower half out. Maybe every game day I do a certain drill that takes 5 minutes, because I know that if I do it, it's gonna mentally and physically get me ready for the game, get me primed for the game. Of course, organization, like you're gonna have your team dynamic, you're gonna have your team BP, you're gonna have your team warm up and toss. Like that's a given though. That's not organizing. That's forced organization. That's just like organization by default. But on an individual level, you need to organize yourself. Some days I go to the field and I'm talking to everyone, man. It feels right. I'm just conversating. I feel just I'm happy to be there. But some days I know that I can't talk. I just gotta focus on myself. And it's not, you know when you're in the wrong, right? When you're talking and you feel like you shouldn't be, and you know you're in the wrong when you're being quiet and it feels like you want to speak up. So you know what I'm saying? Don't force it. But my example there is just organization changes like preparation. It just depends on when you're organizing. You might be organizing for a live AB day in the off season, because that's your technically might be the closest thing to a game day you have in the off season, or you might be preparing for a game in the regular season, or you might be organizing for a playoff game. Organization changes as the cycle continues. The cycle only continues and never goes back. So what you worked on one day is not what you're working on the next, unless that's what it calls for, unless that's what your preparation and organization calls for. And you have staples. There are staples. You have a staple of preparation that you do every day no matter what, because this is what you do. And then you have things that you prepare for that fluctuate. Some days it's this, some days it's that. Some days I got to do this lower half drill. Some days I work on my top hand because I don't feel my top hand like it. Some days I just got to take more pitches off this machine because I feel like I'm swinging it too much. Organization, same thing. You have your staples. This is what I do. Every time I organize. Every time before a game I do this. Every time I'm in this situation I do this. But then you have organization things that fluctuate. Some days you get on the bus, at least for me, right? I'll speak for myself, right? Some days I get on the bus and I just want to chill, man. I just want to listen to some soft music, and I'm going to a game. I don't got to be all amped up. That's just the societal norm to think you got to be amped up for a game. Some days I just want to chill, man, because I get to the game and I'm relaxed, and that's just what it is. But some days I get on the bus and I want to get amped up. I want to listen to a motivational speech. Some days I want to get on the bus and listen to some hard music because I'm feeling slow and I know I got to get going. But it fluctuates. It's not the same every time, right? That's the fluctuation. Then you got the execution, preparation, planning, preparation slash planning, organizing, execution. Now the execution, this is the stage that people become obsessed with. They become obsessed. People become obsessed with execution because they don't get the result that they want. And we were just at our practice, right? And we have these talks after practice. And our coach said this, and it's like a synchronicity, right? Where you've been thinking about something, you've been talking to people about something, then you hear someone else say it, and you're like, wow, like yeah, That's the truth. He said you gotta, once you. He was talking about a certain player on the team, and he said like he likes to overthink sometimes, and we just try to get him to understand that as long as you do everything, he does all the steps along the way correctly. He does all the right things. He puts all the work in. He organizes. But then when he gets to execution, he doesn't clear space in his mind to allow that to happen. That's all execution is. Once you get to the stage, man, once you get to the field, whatever sport you play, I play baseball, but if you play football, you play basketball, you get to the court, you play whatever, man. You get to tennis, you get to the court. You get to whatever competition you have, man. You get to a chess match. You get to the gym, wherever you're playing at. You just gotta be there, man. You just gotta be present. And people say that all the time, and I always just like be present. Like what? Like how am I supposed to be present? And this is what it is, right? It's not thinking about anything in your past that there's no relatable past and there's no predictable future. When you're executing, when you're on that field, there's no like relatable, oh I remember this. Let me use nah, you're on a new execute every game's new, man. There are things that repeat and yeah, you can learn from them, but there's no relatable past and there's no predictable future. You can't if you go to hit and you're like I'm gonna hit a home run, right? So people always get that they always talk like that, like, oh, I'm gonna hit a home run right here. You're limiting yourself, and people might be like, oh, what do you mean by that? Like, or nah, he's not limiting himself. He thinks he's about to do good here. Nah, think about it. You're thinking about one possibility, one opportunity in the game of baseball. You're thinking about hitting a home run. You could hit a double. You could hit a double to left, a double to right, a double to center. You could hit a single here, a single there, a single where. You could hit a foul ball. You could strike out. You could hit a ground. You're limiting yourself by saying the outcome is only one thing. You got to talk to yourself and create that space to allow any positive outcome to happen. And that happens, the best way that happens is because you prepared with intent. You organized yourself before the game, the day of the game, and then you get to the field and you're just open, you're present, allowing for any success to come your way. And if it doesn't, it maybe you didn't organize or prepare right, but maybe you planned, prepared, and organized right, and you didn't execute. Then that just might be an anomaly, right? And the majority is you're gonna fail more than you succeed. But you're invested in the process at that point, and then you can reflect. The final stage reflect, and that's where you look back and you're like, I did prepare, I did organize. I just got beat by a pitch here, beat by a pitch there, and that was just the way of the day. I'll give you an example. I did doubleheader on Thursday. Today's Saturday, the 18th, 2023, March 18th. I had a doubleheader 2 days ago on the 16th. First game, I went 2 for 3. The second game, I went 0 for 4 with 3 Ks. and if you look at the box score as a fan that wasn't at the game, or even if you were at the game, you just look at the box score, you're gonna say, "Damn, you had a bad day," or "Damn, you had a bad second game." That's just face value, though. That's just the denominator. What about the denominator? What's the underlying value? What is truly there? Well, I'll tell you what. I had a hat trick, but it was because this is what it was. I swung at bad pitches and I failed to adjust. Right. The second game, first AB, I struck out because I swung at 2 pitches outside the zone, and then I swung at a bad pitch outside the zone. I watched a strike, and then I got a ball, and then I swung at another pitch outside the zone. I beat myself. I beat myself, right? I didn't adjust the second at bat. I knew what he beat me with, and I failed to adjust. Right? And I could get into a tangent here, but I'm not. I'm gonna stay on this path. Third at bat, I was like, okay, I started to make an adjustment. Right? But it was a new pitcher. So now it's a new game. It's a new game inside of the game. So this new pitcher, I felt like I was a lot more comfortable with the pitches he was throwing at me, and I ended up hitting a ground ball to the shortstop. It is what it is, right? But at that point, I was letting at bats bleed into one another instead of chopping it up one at bat at a time, and it just was what it was. I started to let the at bats kind of leak into one another and affect the next one, right? And that's where I was failing to just cut it off, go one at a time, because you have to. You got to go one pitch at a time. You really do, because that's all you have, the present moment, pitch by pitch. There's no relatable past or predictable future. I'm telling you. Right? So reflection. When I look back on that game Thursday, that was the reflection that I had. And yeah, I had a hat trick. You know what I'm saying? But it doesn't define me as a player. It really doesn't. It was one day, one game, really. And you can look at my stats, and you can have any whatever assumption you want to have. But look, seeing is believing. Look, I've said this before. Seeing is believing, right? You can look at my stats and believe I'm a good player or believe I'm a bad player. But feeling is knowing. Right? Like I feel the day I had. I felt it. I played it. And I still feel like me. I still feel like a good player. I feel like a great player. I feel like a champion. Champions have bad days. And that's all it is, but it doesn't define you. You define the moment, rebound, keep going, man. It really it's that's where I used to struggle with personally, right? Like I said, all I have is my own experience, and that's all I can talk about. As a player, I used to struggle because I'd have a bad game, and like, some people might be like, "What, you were thinking like that?" Or some people might relate to this, but I used to have a bad game, and then I would be looking at my coaches, and I feel like they were looking at me differently, and then I would think like the parents were like kind of upset that I had a bad game because I didn't get hit with a runner in scoring position. We could have won that game. And I look at my teammates. I feel like I let them down, and I would let that define me. I would let the one bad game define me. But the thing about it is, when you're just like, I'm just me, man. Every day I'm just me. If you just live in your truth, whatever that is, and this could be a whole nother thing, man. This could be a whole nother topic. When you live in your truth day in, day out, you don't have to let moments define you. You define every single moment. 'Cause that's what it is. That's what it is at its truth. That's at its bones. You define everything. People be like, that's just a fact. Oh yeah, that's a fact. That's the truth, man. He's speaking the truth. Nah, he's speaking the truth or a fact that you agree with. Unless it's like science. And then I don't even want to get in that, man. You can argue some of that stuff's not even real, but like truth, bro. Whoever I'm speaking to, a fact. It's whatever you believe it to be, whatever you know it to be. And I can think something's a fact, and someone else can think it's a false narrative. That's the beauty in it, right? That's the beauty in it. Someone could be rich, wealthy, family, beautiful kids, and live by a bunch of narratives that he believes are true, but a bunch of other people don't agree with. But he's still got everything he wants, everything he desired, and he feels great. It's all one on one. It's all unique stuff. It's all. Telling you, look at my box score. You might be like, bad game. He's an okay player. What do I think? I'm a great player, man. I I don't care what no one says. I'm me. I had a bad day, yes, but that don't define me. I'm coming back, man. And that's what you gotta be worried about. The people that don't give up, man. The people that strike out 2 times and then in that third at bat they hit a bomb. Those are the people you gotta be worried about. You gotta be worried about that kid that makes a throw in there, but then he gets 3 ground balls in a row and he bottom of the seventh, he closes the game out with 3 ground balls in a row. That's the kid you gotta be worried about. And look, man, I was on the other side of this. I used to be the kid that struck out 2 times, and you're like, oh, he's striking out again. He ain't in it. Yeah, we already got him, and that's cool, bro. Because what that means is you can come out of that. I'm telling you, every coin has 2 sides. You don't have to live on the one side. Flip that coin over, man. Live on the other side. See where it takes you. How do I do that? What are the tips? What tips you got? Nah, there's no tips, man. Just be it. I'm telling you. Walk around with your chest up, head up, stomach in. See where it takes you. See where it takes you by just walking like that. And you'll start realizing how the world treats you. Yeah, you're gonna get knocked down. Everyone gets knocked down. But do you get back up though? And that's so cliche, but that's just a fact, man. Yeah, you failed that test, but you gonna let that define your whole semester? You gonna fail the class? You gonna blame the teacher? You gonna blame this and that? You're gonna be like, nah, only good things happen to me. I'm gonna stand back on my. I got an A on that next test. See, like, last thing. I'm gonna wrap it up because I'm starting to get on a lot of tangents here. Last thing, right? You fail the first test. That's the start. That's the start of the story. You might think that's the end. That's the start of the story. Like I said, that's a cycle. You you failed the test. You failed an execution. Reflect. Okay. Prepare better. Okay. Organize. Okay. Execute. Next test, an A. The start was the failed test. The end was the A test. The story is that hyphen in the middle. People be like, born on this date, passed away on this date. The story, all the beauty in that person lies on that hyphen. And the hyphen is the smallest thing when you look at that on a tombstone or whatever, or on a plaque or on all the beauty of that person's life is in that little hyphen. There's beauty in the small things, and everything's a cycle. Remember that. Everything's a cycle. There's a cycle inside of a cycle, and there's a bigger cycle than the one you think that you're in right now. I promise you. But I promise you that you're capable more than you tell yourself. And I promise you, those people that you think about, that you think they got a negative opinion on you, they don't. And I promise you, if they do have a negative opinion on you, they shouldn't be hanging around with them. I promise you. And I promise you, you are your own artist. You are the brush and the canvas. You are the sculptor and the statue. You are the flower and the water. You are everything. You are what you create yourself to be and what you maintain yourself to be and what you reflect and make yourself better to be. You are who you are because of who you think you are. It's infinitely possible. It's endlessly possible. Life, baseball, any game, everything, man. Endless opportunities. Everywhere. Everywhere you look. Everywhere you be. Love y'all. Peace, man. This was a real one.